Hello, good afternoon. It is still very hot. So everything that I say that is idiotic, blame it on the weather. Please do not blame me, do not sue me, do not come after me. It's just the heat. I am better than this. Please excuse the phone in hand recording style because I need to get a microphone, but I am waiting for a good offer. And for now, what we have is this phone. So this is the second day of my writing challenge that is going to happen in the next 3 months. And as usual, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Marina and I'm a storytelling teacher. Among a few other things, I'm a complex human being. We're all complex human beings and we have many layers. I'm in such a stupid mood today and you're just gonna have to deal with it or stop watching, but I would like you to stay because I think we can have a fun time together. Other than a teacher and a rambler, I am also a writer and I would like to one day be able to publish my books. And for that purpose, I try and find ways to work on my books around work and life and other things in the way that it allows me to advance and move forward with my goals, but without abandoning the existing responsibilities that I have, such as work, which is the main one. So now that it's the summer and as a teacher, I have a little bit less work than usual because I also have another job that doesn't stop in the summer. So I just have a little bit less workload in the teaching department part of my life. I want to try and use July, August, and September to write the first draft of a novel that is a new project. It's a new idea that I came up with a couple of a month ago. I don't know time. Time is feeling weird because it is very hot. Sorry for all the references to heat that are going to happen during this vlog. So this is a challenge that I thought I was going to be doing all on my own, and I thought about documenting it on this channel and just making a few videos about it and see how I'm going, because I think if it works out, it's going to be a very nice memory to have in the future. But also, I think it's just accountability for me. It's really great to tell the world that you're doing something. Even if nobody's watching, you have told the world. I think I'm way more likely to complete the challenge if I do it that way. But then I thought about bringing it up with some writer people and friends around me, and it turns out that a few people actually decided to join, and we've been talking about it. We talked about it yesterday and it was a lot of fun, and I really liked it because I was missing the NaNoWriMo community back in November because of all the stuff that happened around that. If you want to know more, I have a video where I talk about that whole issue. And today it's the 2nd of July, which means it's the second day of the challenge as well. So I'm going to try and write a little bit more later, even though I wrote in the morning because I woke up stupidly early today. But first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have lunch because I'm starving, and I'm going to be having something called salmorejo, which is a Spanish dish. I am Spanish, in case you didn't know, and it's very similar to gazpacho, but it doesn't have some of the other veggies. I actually make my one just with tomato and not much more, and it usually starts with a little bit of Spanish ham and some boiled egg, and I am right now boiling the eggs, and I'm about to eat my lunch before I lose my mind. It's a little bit later and I have now had my lunch and I'm about to have my tea, which is a good thing because I didn't sleep much and I'm pretty tired. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the goals that I have for this first draft of this project. By the way, I'm not sure I mentioned it, but I'm calling it Project Heist because there is a heist in the novel, which makes me think it's not a very clever code name. But you know, I couldn't think of a better one, and I think that describes some of it. It describes part of what happens in this novel. So let's go with that. And I don't think it reveals too much because the heist is just a tiny part of it. I thought of 3 goals that I want to try and achieve in this first draft, in the attempt to write the first draft of this novel. And I think the first one would be to write an engaging and fast-paced novel, because that's something I struggle with. And I would like this to be an opportunity for learning. And please, if you are one of these people that is very good at pacing and making a novel that feels very balanced, let me know how you do it. I find that so difficult. I find that my stories drag at times and then everything happens in a few pages. So I feel like I go a little bit from too exposition-y to a little bit hectic, and there's not really any need for that if you know how to properly structure and balance the different chapters of your novel and the different beats and the mysteries and the secrets and all that. This is actually something that I struggle with the first project that I ever finished, which I think suffered from the real central plot starting too late. I think there was so much setup, and by the time everything was set up, I think we probably would have lost a percentage of the readers, because it would have taken too long for the real action to start coming to fruition, I guess. The second one is that I want to make sure that there is enough depth to my characters, because I think I tend to focus on the one character, on the main character, obviously, and I might forget about everyone else's arcs a little bit, or I tend to underdevelop them a little bit. I think that's something that my writing suffers from, but I already started this project trying to focus very much on that. So I initially designed the plot based on the characters' arcs and how they interact with each other. I went for a trick, I guess you could call it, which is having multiple POVs, which means that I will be more prone to develop at least their inner world and their inner speech, or at least more than if I was only focusing on the point of view of one person. And the third one is that I want the world to be very immersive, and actually because I didn't want to get like world builder's disease and get lost in the details of the world before I had a solid plot and solid characters. In the planning phase that I did before starting this challenge, I decided to leave world building pretty low in the priorities list, because I find that it's a lot easier for me to construct the world as I'm writing and as I'm developing the characters and the plot and everything. So I didn't want to get too strict about the rules of the world and the rules of the magic, because it is a fantasy when I'm writing. Because this also will allow me to keep discovering little details as I'm writing, and that to me, as a bit of a pantser, gardener, discovery writer, is essential. I want to constantly be surprised and to have the story tell me the story, I guess, or the characters tell me the story, or the story tell me the plot, or I don't know how to make this work because I'm sleepy, but I think you get what I mean. So yesterday I wrote the first bit of the story. I had only written about 2,000 words before I started, just to make sure that I was engaged enough with the characters and the world and the story and everything. And yesterday I wrote about 700 words before I actually locked in and started feeling immersed in the world and started feeling like I was able to write, because for the first bit of it I thought I am bad at this. I can't do this. This is horrible. I've forgotten how to write. But then I decided to push through. I decided to not give up just yet, because maybe in a different moment I would have just decided that was not my writing day, and that I could write some of the day that I was more inspired, which is, I think, is a very dangerous path to go down, because then you're going to start finding a lot of days when you are not inspired, and then it's going to be harder and harder to find writing days if none of them is an inspired. Oh my God. Brain, please turn on. So it took a second, but I did end up getting very comfortable in the story after a little while, and I ended up writing about 1,100 words when I decided to stop. And I only did because there was construction noises outside my house, and it was becoming a little bit hard to concentrate, but not because I didn't feel like writing. It was actually going pretty great. And this morning when I woke up, I managed to write about 600 words, and that actually felt really good. So I'm going to finish my tea, and then I'll try and write a little bit more, maybe do a light workout, and then I'll probably see you tomorrow or one of these days. Hello, I just came back home and I'm going to do a few chores that I have to do before doing a little bit more writing and updating you on how the challenge is going. I'm trying to do this vlogging camera thing, but I am pretty bad at it because my arm, not that long, and it gets tired pretty quickly. I really need to do a little bit of a workout, which I'm going to do. See what I was saying? I'm going to do in a little bit. I just do home workouts, very easy. Just find them on YouTube, and they're not that intense. They're just a person who wants to stay in a fairly decent shape, but I wouldn't dare calling it a good shape. Someday, let me just write a couple bestsellers first, and then I'll get to becoming an athlete. So I just have to do a few things around the house, and I need to get some snack because I'm starving. I should do that workout that I was talking about. My trick to do that kind of thing, since I'm not the most athletic person, is to get in my workout clothes as soon as I get home, and that way I kind of already feel a bit more sporty. I don't know if that happens to you. It's a bit of a trick for my brain to think that I am that person that works out all the time. But also they're just more comfy. They're just better clothes to wear at home. All right, let's go. My arm is already tired. It's so sad. Hello. I did not think the fall was gonna be so hard. On the way here, I stopped at a cafe and I wrote for a little bit, and I had that idea early in the morning today, which allowed me to bring my tablet with me, which I'm very happy about, because that means that if I do stop at a cafe, I can manage to write a bunch of words as opposed to just bringing the notebook, which is my preferred way of doing it, because it's very light, it's a very thin notebook, so I can just carry it like all the time, even when I'm not planning on writing. But because I really wanted to do it today, I brought the tablet, and that meant that I could reach, I think it was 1,200 words. So I'm very happy with how it went today. I didn't write all of that at the cafe. I wrote like half of it in the morning. I managed to wake up like an hour earlier than I usually do, because I'm just so motivated for this challenge. The writing has not been that great, but that's part of the experiment. And this is precisely what I wanted to talk to you about. Today is the 7th of July, which means it's the 7th day of the challenge. And I wanted to do a little bit of balance to see how it all went these last few days. I think the first day I was incredibly intimidated because I don't usually prepare very much when I'm about to write a novel. And not that I've written that many, but it's not my usual way of doing it. And this time I had prepared quite a bit more. Very quickly. It was a very rushed planning for the novel, as you might have seen in previous videos, but it was nonetheless preparation, which is more than I usually do as a pantser, discovery writer, gardener, etc. And especially because I've told you guys in this channel, and because I've told other people about it and some people have joined, that is why I all of a sudden felt pressure. I felt pressure that I didn't choose the right story, that the story didn't have enough to it for me to turn it into a whole book, even though at the present time I have a full plot. It's not a very detailed one, but it is an outline, and I have the character arcs, and I have the complete story. I know all the beats, it's crazy, and I have a guideline, and that's really useful. It's proving to be very useful, especially for days like today. In the morning I had no clue what to write, because it was 6 in the morning and I was quite tired, and it's the World Cup and I've been watching a lot of the games, not the ones at 3 a.m. but I have been watching the ones that start at 11 p.m. which is, you know, when you are a certain age, it's a commitment because it means less hours for sleeping, and they are very precious, let me tell you. After 30, I think sleeping time becomes a lot more precious. So the first day for me was a bit of a freak out day because I was not sure about anything. I thought I made a mistake because I didn't think I could carry out this challenge. I didn't think this was the right novel to do it. I just had every kind of insecurity that writers get all the time unless you're very confident. I don't know any writer that doesn't get imposter syndrome every now and then, or that doesn't get blocked in front of the blank page, or that doesn't feel scared that they are making a huge mistake and they're investing so many hours, so many days, so many months, so many years. And even if you succeed in the goal of writing the novel, nobody assures you that that's gonna go anywhere. And that's really scary on the one hand, but on the other hand, it kind of gives me hope that the more you write, the more you are able to write the next book. I think, especially if you finish it and if you turn it into a finished product that you are happy to send out to agents and or publishers, that's all you can control. You can't really force anyone to want to be your agent or to want to publish your book. But what you can control is putting in the time to write the book, to finish it, to get it to a stage where you're happy to send it out and for people to read it, and that's about it. And if that one doesn't work, then what's in your control is to do that again. I think it's very much a game of rinse and repeat. I think we all agree at this point that it's a pretty challenging career to pursue, but that's all right. That's all right. There's no easy career. I guess there's some easy careers. I don't know. I never seem to choose the easy ones. But going back to that scary first day of the challenge, I had these two voices inside my head. One of them was saying, this makes no sense. And the other one was saying, you've told people you're gonna do this, so now you have to do it. So there's no way around it, so you gotta show up and do it. And I was thinking about it kind of like an assignment in school or in uni, where there's a deadline and you might be able to create an A+ assignment, or you might not have time, you might not understand the subject very well, it might not be your strength, and then you're gonna have to aim for at least a C, but you do have to show up and you have to do it, because otherwise you're not gonna pass. So I had this random moment of enlightenment when I was thinking, I don't need to be an A+ today, I can just be a C, I can just show up, aim for the best, aim for the A+, but if it's a C, that's fine, you still pass, and then tomorrow it'll be better. And what happened that day actually was that after a few hundred words, I think it was like 300 or 700 words, something like that, I started getting into the flow of it, because I had only written a couple thousand words of the story before I decided to go for it. And that meant that I hadn't really stepped into the world all that much. I don't really know the characters that much just yet. And I think the most important thing that I get from this first week of working on it is that it's fine for now. Like at the moment, I don't need to know the characters that well. I don't need to have the plot all figured out. I don't need to have the universe, the world where it's set completely fleshed out. Because at the end of this journey, I am going to aim for a manuscript that is as perfect as possible. But for now, it's fine if it's mediocre, it's fine if it's shitty. It doesn't need to be a polished diamond of a manuscript. It's just a shitty first draft. It's absolutely fine. And so that first day ended up being actually a really good day of writing. And after that, I had good days and bad days. And yesterday, I only wrote like a couple hundred words because I just couldn't be bothered. I think there's every kind of writer out there. If I ever tell you that I love writing every single day of my existence, you know that I'm lying. That's just not true. There's days that I fucking hate it. I dread it with all of my soul. And there's most of the time where I quite like it. There's days that I love it, and I would just do anything to be able to just sit down for a minute and write and forget about the world and just dedicate my full attention to the writing. But there are days where it just sucks. It's just really hard, really painful, or even just a little bit boring. There's just days where you're not feeling it. Like you can love chocolate cake, and there will be moments and there will be days that you're just not feeling like eating chocolate cake. So I think it's the same with writing. It doesn't mean that you love writing any less. It doesn't mean it's any less of your passion. I'm sure there's athletes that dedicate their whole life to their discipline, and there's days where they just can't be bothered running 100 meters. They just want to stay in bed watching Netflix, and that's totally alright. I think sometimes we idealize this kind of passions, and I'm sure there's people who do feel like writing every second of their existence. It's kind of crazy, but I'm sure there is people like that, but that's not the case for me, and I'm sure it's not the case for a lot of human beings. And if that's you, you're right. I think it makes all the sense. I think the most important milestone of this first 7 days of the challenge for me has been like a weird double realization. First, I had to not idealize writing because I had this idea that I had been preparing for the project, and then I was gonna sit the first day of the challenge and I was gonna kill it, and it was gonna be so smooth and it was gonna be perfect. And then I realized that it was gonna be like it always is. Sometimes it's difficult and it takes a while to get into it. And some of the days it just flows and it's easy and it's great. But at the same time, I had to not demonize it. So there was a moment earlier at the cafe when I was writing when I realized that I didn't have a family backstory for one of the characters, and I thought of one that I thought made sense, but it was just not the right place to just do a long exposition of it, because that's just not very nice to read. It's like the reader usually doesn't want you to just dedicate 5 paragraphs to explaining the family history of that specific character and then just go back to the action. You're supposed to do that in a more subtle way, in a way that fits into the storytelling better. So at first I thought of just writing a couple of hints there, and then I thought it's a shitty first draft, everything's allowed. So I just went on and wrote the whole family history. Not the whole of it, just a couple of paragraphs, which in a final draft would feel very clunky. But I thought better have it there and then later on distribute it nicely and in a more balanced way, in a way that makes more sense and it's more engaging, than not having it at all and just forgetting about it now that I think I had a good idea for it. So I'm placing it there, being very aware that it doesn't belong there and ready to change it or to chuck it in the bin or to forget about it or to use it in a different way or to transform it in a future draft. I think I've been talking for a really long time, so I'm gonna leave it here for today. I'm really happy that you're coming along with me in this journey. I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and I'm having a lot of fun checking in with people to see how they're going with this project, with this idea of writing a first draft or anything else to work on, whatever book project that they want to work on, or short stories or memoir or whatever it is that you want to work on. Or maybe if you're illustrating something, or if you're like crocheting, I'm just here for the creative process and everyone's different way of doing it, and it's just a lot of fun. I just really like doing this kind of thing. I'm really motivated by deadlines, and I'm just really happy that there's other people doing it at the same time as me. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I will see you in the next video.